You're listening to the Meaningful Minutes with Nikki Olson podcast. This is a show for busy Latter-day Saint women who want to learn simple tools to feel confident and inspired in 10 minutes or less. Welcome. On this episode, we will discuss the power of asking and why you should still pray for help with the things you can do on your own. Do you find yourself only praying for things you can't do on your own? Like when you think about your day and you begin to pray, do you think about asking for help with those things that seem bigger than your abilities? Now, doing that isn't necessarily a quote unquote bad thing, but you're leaving a huge source of power on the table when you don't ask for help with things that you can do on your own. Now, before I jump in and talk about why asking for help with things you can do on your own will benefit you, I want to talk you through a quick analogy that you can bring up next time you kneel to pray. Okay, here's the analogy. I want you to think about all the duties it takes to run your household, like all the chores, the responsibilities, the daily tasks it takes to run your household. Now, when you think of all of those duties and going down the list, if you had to do all of those duties, each and every one of them, not all at one day, but if you were asked, could you do most of them? I bet you could, right? It may take you some time to do it, but you probably could. Well, you probably don't do all of those duties in your household, though. You have others helping you, right? Just because you can do them on your own doesn't mean you need to do them all by yourself. There's reasons why you ask for help in your house, right? And there are reasons that asking in prayer for help with things you can do on your own is beneficial. And I want to talk about what power you'll receive when you do that. So, reason number one, we need to ask for things we can do on our own is it creates humility. Elder Hamilton of the 70 in the April 2022 General Conference said that the Lord's condition for change is humility. If they humble themselves before me. He said the opposite of humility is pride. Pride exists when we think we know better, when what we think or feel takes priority over what God thinks or feels. A lot of times we can get into a routine and think we know better on what needs to be done. When we start having pride in all the priorities of our day, not including the Lord in all that we do, then we run the risk of excluding God in our lives. That can be a dangerous place to be. God offers us power to become more than we could imagine. And if we think if we think or feel like we know better, then we run the risk of not allowing God to help us change and become like Him, which ultimately is our goal, right? Here on earth is to become more like Him, to have experiences that allow us to become like Him. And it doesn't have to be the big experiences. If we include Him in our prayers in the small things, that we think we have figured out, He will make more of us than we could ever imagine. All right, I had to interrupt these meaningful minutes for a quick reminder. The holidays are coming. Yep, they are fast approaching, and there are a few gifts that usually you're scrambling to think of ideas for last minute, right? And that's usually your friends, your neighbors, or your ministering sisters. Not this year. I got you covered. The Meaningful Prayer Journals are a powerful yet inexpensive gift that helps your gift receiver build a stronger relationship with God through prayer so that they can feel Christ's enabling power, see the hand of God in their life, and prioritize their day through the Spirit. And this is also a fabulous gift for Relief Society presidencies to give out. When you purchase these in bulk for your Relief Society sisters, I offer a 25% discount off your whole order. And this year, I'm even adding in a virtual fireside called 5 Ways to Hear Him More in Your Life to be scheduled anytime in the next 6 months. So click the link in my show notes and order yours today. Okay, the second reason for asking for help with things you can do on your own is because it builds a relationship with God. When you ask for help in your prayers and you allow God to help you, then you're stepping into the yoke with Christ, working side by side on a common goal. This is where you begin to have faith in Him and trust Him. Working side by side with the Savior in the small things builds your faith and trust in Him in the big things. President Nelson has said it is our faith that unlocks the power of God in our lives. This relationship that you're building in small ways every day, asking for His help with on the little things, is what unlocks the power you need for the big things in your life. The third reason asking for help with things that you can do on your own is beneficial is because He can make weak things strong. Think about it. There's only so much that your mortal body can do in one day. However, with Christ, you can do all things because we have fallen bodies here on this earth. We have limitations and to our abilities every day, right? However, through Christ, we are strengthened, enabled, and guided to do His will. When we ask for help with the things we think we have figured out, we can add to those tasks. He can add to those tasks, allowing us much more that we could do on our own. Just like the chores in your house that you could do all on your own, you don't because you can get more done when you ask for help. It allows you to spend time in other places that you're needed. It teaches others in your house responsibility. You can learn so much from the process of asking for help with things you can already do on your own. On last week's podcast, I talked about my process of how I use my Seeking Personal Revelation journal to help me ask for help from God with the everyday things that I'm facing that day. And this allows me to be humble, build a relationship with God, and get strength beyond my own to accomplish His will. My prayer journals are a mini version of my Seeking Personal Revelation journal. That just focuses on the prayer aspect of revelation. Both are wonderful tools to help you start working on asking for help with things you can already do on your own. If you're ready to start and you want one of my journals to help, just click the link in my show notes and you can get yours today. All right, I will see you next week. I hope these minutes you spent with me were meaningful, helped you feel inspired, and more confident. If you liked today's episode, check out the show notes for links to other episodes you might like too. And while you're there, in my show notes, look for the links to my website, social media, and free handouts for remembering how to implement the skills. Thank you for listening to the Meaningful Minutes podcast with Nikki Olson.